Hey guys, welcome back to Triple L Rustic Designs. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make a true floating shelf using the best mounting system on the market. Stick around to find out how. Alright guys, you see this green big package here. This package has been sitting in the corner of our shop for probably about 10 months now. And this package is from Hovr. It's their Hovr bracket system. It's taken us almost a year to make you this video showing you how to use this bracket system because we wanted to make sure that we had the perfect application for this bracket system. Once we opened the package, we realized there was 9 bracket systems in here. Today, we're only going to use one bracket system since we've never used them before. But if you guys enjoyed this video, maybe we'll make more videos in the future showing you how to use them. Each bracket system comes as a set. You can see the little green tape on the ends, and that is taping the 2 pieces of the set together. Today, we're going to use the 2-foot bracket system, and I'm going to show you exactly how we use it to make a floating shelf. First thing we need to do is remove the tape at the ends, and then we're going to separate the 2 pieces of the set. The Hovr bracket system uses a male and female bracket that interlock and screw together to form unparalleled strength. They use both aluminum extrusion and steel bend depending on what is required. The average load capacity is 300 pounds. The female bracket on the left gets screwed into the back of the shelf, while the male bracket on the right gets screwed into the wall, and then they come together just like this, making a true floating shelf. As you can see, we have our supervisor strapped to my chest. He's been bossing us around all morning, so I have Trey helping me out. Trey went over to our slab wall and picked out a nice little red oak slab that we're going to use as our floating shelf. Even though oak is one of the heaviest species of wood we carry at our shop here, we're not worried about it. This Hovr bracket system is supposed to be one of the strongest bracket systems on the market, and it should handle this just fine. So the first thing we need to do is cut a straight edge on one side of the slab. To do that, we're going to use our Festool TS75 track saw. If you don't know how a track saw works, you place your track on top of your piece and clamp it down just like this. This creates a rail system for your saw to run along that makes a perfectly straight edge every single time. Even though the Festool makes super straight cuts, it is best to make shallow passes. So here Trey's going to make a few cuts until he makes it all the way through the wood. And just like that, we have a straight edge on one side of the slab that we will now use to install the female side of this Hovr bracket system. To do that, we're going to clamp down the slab vertically so we can work on the back side of the slab, creating a channel for the female bracket. There are 3 different methods to creating this channel. You can use a hand chisel, a router, or for the professionals, using a dado blade and a table saw. We don't have a dado blade for a table saw, and we're not very good with hand chisels, so we're going to use the most common method, which is to router out the back of the shelf to make room for the female bracket. First thing we need to do is trace the female bracket on the back of the wood so we know where we need to create the channel. To create this channel, we're going to use a router and this router jig. Festool sells a jig just like this for $400, but Trey purchased a piece of acrylic off of Amazon for $23 and actually made this one himself. The way this jig works is you can tighten the sides along your material so you can ride the router along the material, making a perfectly straight line. The other way to use this jig is setting the side pieces to the proper width so you can route out the entire channel without going outside the channel lines. If this sounds confusing, hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense once you watch the process. The bit we are using in the router is a 1/4 inch upcut bit from the company Bits. As you can see, Trey is using the router and the jig working back and forth along the slab, creating the channel. As he's moving up and down the back of the wood, with each pass, he's removing about 1/8 inch of material. At first, Trey was using the jig to make straight lines along the channel, as you can see here. After a couple passes, he adjusted the jig so it's the proper width of the channel so he can move the router within the channel without breaking the barrier. This method worked really well, but it was just time consuming because we were only removing 1/8 inch of material at a time. After about 15 or 20 minutes, we finally had the channel routed out enough to fit the female bracket. Alright, now that the channel is done, we put in the female bracket and it fits nicely, although you can see that the channel we cut is a little bit too wide, but that's okay, I think it's still going to work. The Hovr bracket system comes with a hardware kit, so we're going to use the provided screws to secure the female bracket inside the channel on the back of the shelf. Now that we have the female bracket secured on the back of the shelf, we're going to head inside the store and figure out where we want to put the male bracket so we can hang our shelf. First, we're going to find a spot on the wall that's going to accommodate the length of our shelf, which is 42 inches long. Next, we're going to take our level and mark some spots on the wall so we can make sure our shelf is level once it's mounted. After that comes the very important step of locating the studs within the wall and marking those locations on the male bracket. Now we're going to take our male bracket and using a drill bit, we're going to drill screw holes on the provided drill line so we can secure the male bracket to the wall. Since this is our first time installing this bracket system, I know I'm not explaining how to do it very well, but if you guys are interested in learning more about this, you can head over to the link in the description below where you will find a detailed video on how to install this bracket system. Now that we have our holes drilled in the male bracket, it's time to take it inside the store and attach it to the wall. Using the provided screws from the hardware kit, we're going to secure the male bracket to the wall, ensuring that the screws are going into the studs in the wall. Once the male bracket is secured, we're just going to double check to make sure it's level. Being that the male bracket is level, we can finish screwing in the bottom screws and it should be good to go. This is what the male bracket looks like once it's secured. It's very important that if you do have a hump in the wall that you don't over tighten the screws, causing the bracket to bend. Now, for the moment of truth, we're going to test fit this shelf, making sure we mounted everything properly. To combine both brackets, tilt your shelf downward at a 15-degree angle to begin engaging the two brackets together. Hook the upper part of the female bracket onto the upper part of the male bracket. Once you feel the grooves begin to interlock, pull the shelf down into place and connect the two components. In the case that the brackets are not fully engaged, apply 2 to 3 solid taps at the back of the shelf where the brackets sit. This should cause the brackets to snap fully into place, leaving a level shelf. Now that we know our shelf is installed properly, we're going to take our shelf outside and make her pretty. To do this, we're going to first sand off all the lumber crayon markings. Now that our shelf is sanded nice and smooth, it's time to add a finishing oil. The finishing oil we're going to use today is Atomic Finishes Wood Oil. To apply the oil to the wood, I'm using a gray scuff pad from the company 3M. I'm just going to buff the oil straight into the wood. Now I don't know about you guys, but I'm really loving the way this oil brings out the colors of this red oak. This is really turning into a beautiful shelf. I'm just working my way around the shelf, making sure every surface of the shelf has a nice coat of oil on it. After applying oil to the top and the live edge, I'm going to flip the shelf over and apply oil to the bottom as well. After applying oil to the entire shelf, I'm going to wait a couple minutes and then take a nice clean rag and wipe off all the excess oil. Now our floating shelf is complete. We're going to add it back onto the wall and see how she looks. Wow, I love how this shelf turned out. It is a true floating shelf with no visible hardware. There's one more step in installing the Hovr bracket system that we didn't complete in the video, but we did do it later on, and it's installing a set screw into the bottom of the shelf so that the shelf can't accidentally be knocked off the wall. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're wanting to see detailed instructions onto how to properly install this Hovr bracket system, there will be a link in the description below this video to the Hovr website. We just could not wait to add some products onto this shelf. As you can see, we put some charcuterie boards and some pepper grinders on here, and they look fantastic. This shelf is a true floating shelf, and we cannot wait to add more onto our store. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video today. As you can see, this floating shelf turned out beautiful, and this is a true definition of a floating shelf. You can't see the hardware anywhere, and we're so excited to hang up more floating shelves just like this one. I want to give a huge shout out to Dan and everyone at Hovr for sending us this Hovr bracket system. If you guys are in the market for some floating shelves, I highly recommend you check out Hovr. You'll find the link in the description below this video. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for future videos. We'll see you on the next one.